Good morning, preschool friends. Happy Wednesday. I wanted to show you my own garden at my house. And really, I think of it as a garden, but it's really just like my yard and all the things that grow and live with us here. Before we do that, let's do some nice stretches. Oh, I don't know about you, but being outside has just been really nice. When it's been rainy. In fact, I'm sitting on very wet ground right now. But when it's raining and afterwards everything starts growing, it feels pretty good. So let's do a little stretches. Get our arm out. Ooh, and then the other arm stretch. One leg over the other. One leg over the other. Oh, stretch. One leg over the other. Give yourself a hug. And do your L breath. Whoo. L breath. Whoo. Put your hands together. Preschool friends, as I'm putting my hands together, this got into my mind. Because we're all at home. Or I know some friends might even be like, I know some friends in our preschool community, but also friends of mine that aren't at home, but they're at their cabin or a lake home. But we're all with our family. And that's a wonderful thing, too. I know sometimes, because I have brothers and I have a sister, sometimes your brothers and your sisters, if you have them, it can be tiresome. Your mom and your dad can be tiresome. And yet we can be so thankful that we're together. But I also want to put all the thoughts in my balloon of places I want to visit. I was actually just talking to Mary, the art teacher, about going up north to fun places to go camping. And it just made me excited to think of places I could go. And I know right now we feel like, we can't go anywhere. But that will change. That will change. There will be places we can go, and there are places we can go right now. And it's fun to think of all the places in nature that we can visit. My sweatshirt says Traverse City, and I really like Traverse City because you're by the lake, one of the Great Lakes, and it's just fun to see the waves. Anyway, put in your balloon a place that you would like to go visit, near or far. Okay. And let that balloon go, and then it'll come back to you when you get to go on that special place you want to go to. All right, preschool friends. I would like to share with you a couple things in my backyard or the side yard. Do you see these? I really like them. Do you see these plants here? These are ferns. And they started small, like all plants. They started pretty small, like down here. And they started peeking out, and they kind of unfurl. It looks like a spiral, and they unfurl. So it's like they go like this, and then they start spreading out like that. And they're quite beautiful. So one of the projects I've been doing in my yard has been taking these ferns from this side of my house, where they get tons of sun. And right now they like it. They like the May sun. But what they don't like is the hot July sun and the August sun. It starts burning their leaves. They're pretty delicate when it comes to sun. They like wet, shaded places. They don't want to get too much sun. So I've been taking my shovel and I've been digging these up, and they're actually, I want to show you, they're actually connected to each other underground. Their roots are connected. So once I dig one up, I find that they're connected to another one, so I have to dig that one up and bring the two together. Okay, so I want to show you where I brought them. I have this lovely, I know we like to call it like a little forest. And one of the things we're going to be doing pretty soon is having a camping trip in our backyard. We're going to get a tent. We have a tent. We're going to get our tent out. And this is my backyard. And we're going to put the tent here And we're going to have a little fire pit and do all that. But I want to show you where I have transplanted. That word trans, like we might hear in transportation, it means to move, right? Transportation, like cars and trains and planes and bikes. Those are things that transplant. So we can, or transport. This is transplant. So I'm taking them from one side to the other side of my house. You see these big trees. They provide a lot of shade. They give a lot of shade, and yet they still can have sun. So I want to show you all these ferns. These were not here before I did some action, before I moved them here. It took a while. I think there might have been, like 5, and now there's about 20. So after I dug them up, I brought them back here and I made a hole, and I put some nutrients in there. It's called bone, oh gosh, I can't remember. But anyway, I put them into the ground. I watered them just so their roots can start spreading and finding that water. And thankfully, we've been getting so much rain that it's been helping the ferns take root. Now, some of these are from last May. So think about when, maybe you're 5 right now or you're 4. Think about when you were 1 year younger. These are 1 year, these have been here for a whole year. So that was really exciting because what happened last summer is that a lot of them, after I planted them, they seemed to be fine for a while, and then they kind of died off pretty quickly. So I think it's because they were still growing. But then they spent the whole fall, winter, and early spring underground getting stronger. And then as the weather and as they got rain and as the sun came out longer, they started to come out and grow. So they spent a whole year growing underground and getting stronger underground. I think that sounds pretty familiar. I mean, you guys were underground, but I feel like you guys have spent the whole year, just like these ferns, growing and getting stronger, so then you can spread out and grow and be strong even more. Think about it. You guys are very much like these plants. The one difference is I love you guys a lot more than these ferns. A lot of other differences. But it's true, we all grow and get stronger. And a lot of times that happens from waiting and being patient. It's not about moving around or like doing all these things. It's about being still. And that's where a lot of growth happens. So I think about that for all of us who have been at home, and you probably feel like, oh, I agree. I miss my friends. I get to see them maybe when we do video activities, but I miss being with each other. But also, there's been a lot of growth. You've been growing, getting stronger too. I'm thankful for that. You've been learning new things. You've been trying new things. Try is really important. You've been growing physically. I've seen all you guys. You guys have been growing. A lot of you guys have been growing and learning things, especially like on bikes. Anyway, you're much like these plants and these ferns that are growing and spent that time. I wanted to show you this one. I don't know if you can see it. Here we go. This is how they unfurl. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so here is my little fern garden that I'm quite proud of. And maybe every time I see my fern garden, I will think of you all and how you're growing too. Okay, another thing that we've been working on is this ivy. This ivy. You see this ivy here? This ivy here. Okay, there's a lot of lessons you can learn about in gardening. My dad taught me that. So this ivy is quite beautiful. Hope you guys can see it. This ivy is very beautiful. The one thing that has happened though with the ivy is that it spreads out. It goes this way. It doesn't go up, it spreads out. So if it's spreading and all of a sudden it comes to a tree, it's going to spread around that tree. Let me show you a couple other ones. It's going to spread around that tree. Now that sounds great for the ivy, but is that great for the tree or the bush? all of a sudden they're getting crowded. There was even all this where the ivy is spreading out across the grass. So what we had to do, what Matt and I had to do, is actually cut a lot of the ivy, and it just seemed too much. It was like, okay, it's overgrown and it's going too much, and we had to cut it so then other things could live. And again, I think this is another good lesson. I think this ivy is beautiful, and we really like it, and it has a nice little border, and it's really pretty. The problem is the part that I don't like is this, where it grows and it takes up space when others could be there. So what we've done, we didn't take out all the ivy and say, you don't get to be here anymore. What we did is we cut back the ivy and said, you know what? This is a good space for you to grow, and you can actually guide it back in. And I think it's important, just like the ivy can learn this lesson, is we need to give others space. Now that could be physically give space. We talked about like let your friend, have space. We don't always have to have our hands and bodies on each other, but also giving space for others to speak and giving space for others to learn. Like even if you have like a friend or a younger sibling, giving them space to figure things out. Even giving space for people that they might not be able to have a chance to grow. So we want to give everybody space so we can all grow together. So that's what I'm trying to teach through this ivy, is that there's new ivy growing. So what we're going to be doing is cutting it back and then guiding it back in so it can be strong, and also the bushes and the other plants and the grass can have space to grow. Because, it's kind of like community. When we're all together, we work well together. All right. Here is another fun thing in my yard. I've got these wonderful apple trees. There's this apple tree. I like being under it. And this one too. There's 2 apple trees. And they are starting to bloom. They're starting to have little flowers. Now what happens to these flowers is this is where, here's another good one. This is where the apples come. Okay, so you have these flower blooms. And pollinators like bees will come by and pick up the pollen, and they'll go to other plants, other trees, and they'll cross-pollinate. I'm sorry if my science isn't all correct, but anyway, what they do is because of pollinators, we get apples. Without pollinators, we would not have apples, because they need to cross-pollinate. They need to get pollen and spread it out from others. Okay, so what happens to this flower is, like, later on in the summer, is it will close up. The flower part, the petals will fall off, and then I actually broke this, so oh well, I'll just show it to you. What happens is this part gets nice and big. This little green part gets nice and big and plump and round, and it starts swelling and swelling. Think of your mouth, you went like this. My cheeks are getting bigger. It swells and swells and gets bigger and bigger, and then it becomes an apple. And they're quite wonderful, aren't they? They're pretty yummy. So what happened though, I'm going to show you this. Last year, we had so many apples, they weighed down these branches. Do you see that? They're touching the ground. They used to be up here, and then they weighed down. So we have to try to figure out a way to like lift them up. And I guess as another example of a lesson from plants is like sometimes we have too much weight. We have too much to handle. And what happens when we have too much to handle is we start getting weak. We start falling, I guess you can say. So it's important when we have too much to handle to let someone help us pick off some of the things that are hard and give us a little help so we're not having to handle all of it together or on ourselves. We can help each other out and lift each other up. So if it's too much for us, we're not falling from the weight of all that stuff. All right. Well, this has been a good lesson. And if you think about it, I want you to look at the garden and the things growing around you, and maybe think about just the beauty of it all. You can also think about what it is trying to teach you. And maybe a family member can help you with that. But I love being outside and seeing things grow right now. And I'm sure you guys are too. We've had a lot of conversations about things growing. I would love to see, if you go on a walk and you see things growing, what you notice about that. I think I'm going to do another walk because there's a really cool garden nearby my house that has a lot of interesting plants that I'll share with you. Alright, friends, but we can learn a lot of things from the gardens and the things growing around us. Alright, well, you guys have a happy day, and I will see you all soon.